What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I wanted to talk real quick about a video I did about, the 10%. 10% of the time you need to punch people in the face. And I wanted to clarify on a point on this because I realized that maybe I gave some dangerous advice here in the sense that I think a lot of people mistook what I was saying in a particular way, which is this, is that you shouldn't be completely unpredictable. Okay? Now, again, you should have a range, a big range of things that you could do. But let me give you an example, right? Because my wife was asking me about this, and I was like, oh, this is interesting because there's a clarification here, right? She said, well, I heard you talk about this 10% unpredictable. So, I'm supposed to trust you. You said, yeah, you would never cheat on me. Well, what about that 10%? and that I was like, oh, okay. There's a misunderstanding here for sure, because that's not what I'm saying. So let's go back to poker real quick. Okay. Just a quick trip here. Okay. Let's go back to the aces, right? You got pocket aces. All right. If you're familiar with poker, if not, that's the best hand that you can have, starting hand in Texas Hold'em. All right. Now in poker, you have three essentially moves that you can do. Okay. You can raise a bet if there's a bet to you. You can make a bet. You can call a bet, or I guess there's going to, or you can fold. Let's say those four. It depends on the situation, right? Okay. So if you have pocket aces, the optimal thing to do is to always raise or bet, right? That makes sense because you have the best possible hand. So that's the optimal play. Now, like I said, if you played it that way all the time, people would be able to put you on a range to know you have either aces or kings or ace king or whatever that range is. They'd be able to narrow down your hand on your starting hand based on that play, because these are the times when you would do that. Like it would give them a lot of information. Again, it's not perfect information. They won't know exactly what you have, but it narrows down the range, so then it makes their mathematics a lot simpler for probability and making the correct move against you. Okay, so it makes you too predictable of a player. So some percentage of the time, you should mix it up. Now, when I say mix it up, I don't mean to make a horrible play. I don't mean to fold the aces. Never. 0% of the time, you should fold the aces. It's never. That will be a losing strategy. Okay? What you should do some of the time is do a suboptimal play. So suboptimal, not horrible. So again, now taking this back to the whole thing, like I said, cheating. You shouldn't, some percent of the time, cheat. That's not a good, believe me, I have a history with that. Like, it's not ever good, right? So that's not, like, you shouldn't some percent of the time kill somebody, right? You could be capable of violence. So what I'm saying is that you should some of the time, to be unpredictable, okay, do some suboptimal things and just do some things that are different, right? So again, when I was talking about like interactions with people, right? So 10% of the time you should punch someone in the face. Okay, look, if someone does something severe to you, right, or to your family or something like that, some of the time you should give them a semi-aggressive or violent reaction, right? Not something extreme to the extreme, right? But something that gives them a little jab. They should have it within your range that if they said something offhand to you, that they might get slapped or they might get punched. Like that's, again, does that mean that you should really exercise that very often? Not very often at all. It would have to be a pretty extreme circumstance. But sometimes in those extreme circumstances, yes, maybe that would make sense. Okay, but again, it should not be so extreme. Like it shouldn't be like, well, if I insult John, he might kill me. That's not, like maybe someone could think that in their head, but that should never be within your range, really. Like that's probably not it's not going to be a profitable move. It's not going to be a profitable play. It's not going to make sense, right? It could be more like I said, like in my instance, I said, okay, well, sometimes when a hater comments on a video, I ignore them most of the time, but sometimes I'll just put them on blast. Sometimes I'll embarrass them. Sometimes, whatever, right? If you saw me in person and you, let's say, insulted my wife in person, yeah, maybe a lot of the time I would ignore that. But sometime I would punch you in the face. Like that would be enough. Like, and yeah, maybe there'll be some kind of penalty or risk involved in doing that, but it's a reasonable one for me in order to have that a bit of volatility. But it's not ever going to be an extreme. I'm not going to stab you. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? And again, some people might disagree with where that line is, but the point is that you don't know where the line is. You don't know what I might do, right? That's what makes a person dangerous to a degree and unpredictable, or someone you don't want to fuck with, right? You don't know where that is. I know where it is, but you don't know where it is. When I play poker, I know what my range is. I know what moves that I would make on particular circumstance and whatnot, but you don't know what it is. That's the point, is to have them guessing, again. And when I talk about it in relationships, that's it is not to erode trust. It's more to create novelty. Okay. So that's where I think the biggest misunderstanding is I'm definitely not saying to sometimes be violent to your partner or to be mean to your partner randomly. That's not at all. I'm saying to sometimes do different things, go to a different restaurant, plan a surprise, do some things that make you somewhat unpredictable, do sex a little bit differently, like different things like that. Okay. But you should have also within your range that, that you're not going to necessarily, if you're not going to tolerate abuse or disrespect like that you might have a larger reaction to something like that, but not an extreme one. Okay. So because you ultimately want to build trust, right? The thing is, trust and predictability are not exactly the same thing, right? Constancy is an element of trust. So understanding someone's character is how you trust them, right? What is their character? It doesn't mean you know exactly what they're going to do, but you know what their character is. So you know the range and the scope of what they're going to do. So it becomes more of, you don't have to know exactly what is going to happen in order to trust, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So like, let's, for instance, I put a blindfold over you, okay, and I have a surprise for you, okay? If you don't know me very well, you might think I might mug you, right? Like you might think that I might do something bad to you, okay, because you don't know my character. So in that case, you don't know what's going to happen and you don't trust, right? Now, if you know me really, really well, okay, and I put a blindfold over you and I say I have a surprise, then you trust it's going to be a good thing. You trust I'm not going to harm you. I'm not going to do something bad to you, okay? But you still don't know what I'm going to do, right? So there's an element of surprise, but again, don't mix it up. Don't confuse the thing, right? It's that the reaction or the thing that you're going to do is you're just trying to make it so that it is not completely predictable, right? No one can put you on a specific thing, a specific way that you're going to be, or a specific way that you're going to act. But they should still be able to judge your character, right? That's the key thing, right? Is that someone should be able to judge your character. And again, you're going to present in different ways, in different situations, to different people, because you're trying to have a different perception, right? At the poker table, I want a perception maybe of being someone who is pretty random, right? The more random that I am, the more that I want to be perceived maybe even as a bad player, right? That I get someone to believe that I'm a bad player and I could be playing any hand. It makes it hard for them to play against me because they don't understand, right? Because in reality, I'm playing differently than they think, right? So there's obviously levels of complexity to this, and this is a model, right? It's not a gospel, right? There's a higher level principle to this, which does not, like, the principle is not literally 90% do this, 10% punch people in the face. That's not, you're missing the point if you think that is the principle. I'm trying to give you some examples, a model of this higher level principle of don't be completely predictable, right? And so that is more of the higher level principle, is don't be completely predictable in any way, right? Not in a relationship, not in a friendship, not in a poker game, not in a violent situation. There needs to be some level of volatility there, right? For various reasons, because if someone can predict your actions, then they can manipulate you. They can, they have the upper hand in that situation, right? So I'm glad though that some people point this out, because and I don't want to say that, some of the guys that said, John, this is bull crap. Like, you should never, like, always take the upper road, or, the high road. And I get that point, and I understand that philosophy and that argument. However, that's not the world that we live in the sense that if you always take the high road, you will be taken advantage of. You will be exploited in that way. I don't even like the word exploited, but you're allowing yourself to. You can't always, someone cannot predict that you will always take the high road, right? They have to feel, there has to be some element of a dark side. There has to be some element of a, hey, you can't fuck with this guy, right? If there's not that, then there's a problem, right? Again, it doesn't mean that you're just randomly, doing violence or, or flying off the handle or being angry or getting emotional. I'm talking about a cool and calculated thing that you do, that people feel that you're capable of that. And it also goes down to the attraction level with women, right? Before we talk about that real quick, again, I'm not doing super crazy marketing stuff anymore. I'm supporting this channel and these efforts in Bulldog Mindset through some of the small things I'm promoting. The membership being the main thing. If you'd like to support me, if you'd like to get more in the community and get more in touch with me, I'm going to be expanding that. Check out the membership. There's a ton of content in there right now. We're going to be rebooting that. So, okay. But let's talk about in regards to women attraction. Okay. A woman will not be attracted. There's a reason why women are attracted to criminals, right? Okay. There's a thing, right? Again, I'm not saying that all women are attracted to criminals, and I'm not saying that if you're a criminal, then you're going to be attracted to women. But I am saying that women are attracted to sometimes serial killers, right? There's all these letters that women write to these, and again, there's something wrong with them. I get that, but I'm just saying there is some kind of an instinctual thing, which is women are attracted to men who have the capability of violence, not necessarily violent men, but men who have the capability of violence. Why? I mean, we could argue that there's a biological signaling there of biological evolution that says that a man that's capable of violence is capable of protecting, right? A woman instinct is to survive. She has a strong survival instinct. That's why women will be with asshole men. Okay? It's not because they like being abused or they like asshole men. It's because survival. Because asshole men are capable of violence. They're capable. They are selfish. And a selfish person will survive. And if you're with a person who's selfish and who is very survival oriented, who is willing to fight and step on toes, right, and do what he wants to do, you know that you have a greater chance of survival, right? Think about the apocalypse. Think about the zombie apocalypse. Who do you want on your team? You want a fucking violent motherfucker who will do whatever shit needs to be done in order to survive, right? That's who you want as your ally. You don't want a pacifist or someone who's a little bit, whatever. That's what you want, right? So women are kind of hardwired for this, right? And so this is why also as a man, again, I'm not saying to be a violent asshole, but a woman has to feel like you're capable of violence, that you could defend her, that you would maybe take a rash action in order to survive or to ensure her survival, that you're not a coward, that you're capable of that. And women are attracted to that. Okay. So this is why that's also important. That's why you can't be the guy that always takes the high road. You can't. You have to be the guy that's like, okay, yeah, you probably, this guy, he's probably going to be really, really good guy, really calm, really understanding, is probably going to ignore most people, but man, you probably shouldn't fuck with him because you don't know. You fuck around and you find out, right? Like you have to have a little bit of that in you in order to be attractive to women. All right. I'm just telling you, like this is survival. This is what it is. And you won't even survive in this world if you don't have a little bit of that in you, because this isn't a fair world. Okay. Read Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. All right. And understand that you have to understand power dynamics. And if you just play everything by the book, you're going to get fucked. I promise you, you will. So you can't be just playing everything by the book. You can't always be that kind of person, because the strategy to beat someone who always plays by the rules, who always does the proper thing, it's really simple. It's not hard to figure out what their weakness is and how to beat them, right? If we talk about game theory, right? Nash, okay? Game theory, right? If you're familiar with game theory. If you had a virtual game with someone who always follows the rules and takes the high road every time, you could beat them every time. Like you can develop a consistent strategy to beat them. So in order to optimally play the game of life, there has to be a bit of variability in there. There has to be some things that make it so that your moves are not predictable always, and that there's a risk to a person who fucks with you. If there's no risk to a person who fucks with you, people will fuck with you. It's plain and simple, right? So that is an element of it. And I understand that a lot of you guys don't like that. That it doesn't matter if you like it or not. That is the reality, right? Because it is about survival, right? And so, yeah, we do want to take the high road. Yes, we do want to improve ourselves. Yes, we do want to become stoic. Yes, we do want to love everybody and love the world. But these things are not mutually exclusive. You can be intelligent and wise and mostly take the high road and understand these things and still be capable of violence and be capable of doing something that, like, of defending yourself, of doing something that would be somewhat unpredictable to a person, because it's the why that you're doing it. If you're doing things out of revenge, anger, things like that, again, you're not in control. So it's not a calculated thing, right? But if you're doing things out of a calculation, okay, now you're a formidable foe. Hopefully that clears things up. But feel free if you still disagree. I'm open to the arguments. See you tomorrow.